So now we have myths for 500. Dave Price. The order is going to be Teresa, Anita, Jean, Nisa, and Nancy. You'll finish for us. Thank you. Dave Price, over to you.
I wanted to get your opinion of the 980 program, where every other Friday city employees get off, and they work longer hours than the other 9 days. Should this have gone to City Council? Should City Manager Chris Jordan have used the 980 benefit in negotiations with the city's unions, offering it in exchange for concessions perhaps? And finally, 980 calls for workers to work longer hours, 9 out of every 10 days. How will you know if they're actually working those additional hours, since the city does not have time clocks?
All great questions. Thank you. I struggle with the 980. I understand having worked and still working a number of years. It's wonderful to have a 4-day work week. I think that my first concern when I heard about it was that it was not actually serving the residents in the way that I would want them to be served. So a lot of people have a Friday off. It makes it difficult for them to come in on a Friday. Although I thought about it and I thought, well, there's another Friday that they could do it. So that kind of took care of it. As far as should it have gone to council, yes, I do think it should have gone to council. I think it would have been a good discussion to have, and that council is in charge of the city, and I think those major decisions should be brought before them. I can't speak to the union aspect of the question, I'm sorry. And I don't know how the hours are tracked if we don't have time clocks. I think that's something that needs to be addressed.
Like a lot of people, I was surprised by this. I do think it should have gone to council. I have actually worked under a, well, we used to call it 549 system when I worked for the federal government. And as to getting your work done, well, if you're well managed and your boss has given you and you've agreed on a good work plan, you can be held accountable for producing. And I think for most people, whether they're in an office for 9 hours or 8.5 hours doesn't necessarily specifically indicate how much work they actually do. So getting your work done matters the most, but again, that depends on good management. I don't know why it was done unilaterally, and I think that is a question council should have had the opportunity to ask. Why was the city manager doing this without discussing it with the union in terms of possibly some quid pro quo? And what was the reason for doing it, and what was going to be the impact on the city? I'm more concerned, like Teresa, with a possible impact on the residents than how we actually track work hours.
John?
Well, actually, it went to council. Was not on an agenda, but the city manager told us he was going to do it, and did we have any objection? And none of us had any objection. I would like to point out that the city council does not manage the city. We are the board of directors. We set policy. We set strategy and direction. The day-to-day management of the office is the city manager's responsibility. And I'd like also to point out that, okay, in retrospect, it would have been nice to have it as at a hearing so people can hear and give their opinion. But most of the users of City Hall are contractors, architects, and the like. And they like the new hours because now they can come at very early in the morning and get their permits and then go to the job site.
Nisa?
As I mentioned earlier, I currently serve on the El Camino Hospital Board. And as a member of that board, I have experience providing oversight for the CFO, the CEO, and the rest of the management staff. And this kind of decision is a day-to-day operational decision that should be left to management. And so I do think Chris Jordan, our city manager, had the authority to make that decision, and I'm happy to hear from John that he informed all the city council members. Providing that oversight to your management staff, what I would expect that Chris did in making this decision was to do the research on whether or not this would be beneficial to his staff and the community. I'm assuming he weighed the impact on the community versus the benefits that he shared with the community about why he was doing it. These are the things I would expect from my city manager as a council member, and I'm assuming Chris Jordan made that decision based on data to support his decision. Thank you.
Okay, yes. I would agree with both Sean and Nisa, and from my understanding, a lot of it stemmed from a couple of things. One is many, if not most of our city staff live and commute long distances, and from what I understand, even a small shift like this could help them with their commutes. So I think that's important. Finding a way to help them in any way at this point is important. It's become very difficult to attract staff members to our city. So if we can make some small concessions, which might allow them a little bit of freedom with their commute time, that is wonderful. Having the opportunity to work a longer week and have a 3-day weekend, that could be considered a draw also, because we are fighting tooth and nail with all the other cities around here to find qualified staff members. So thank you.
Candace, thank you very much.